My life changed forever when I was 17 years old. My first business, it really started coming together, and I just almost tearing up just thinking about this and trying to like decide what intro I'm going to say, but it was such a big deal for me, and I tear up basically every time I think about it, because I made $200,000 net when I was 17 years old, and my world completely changed. Never the same. And I don't necessarily think it was about the money, although it was definitely a big factor. I had always dreamed of just being able to make a decision without money having to be a factor. And so it's one of the most important things to me, because it was like the key pivotal year in my journey. So in this video, I'm going to talk about that. I don't say this in any way to brag. I know there's a lot of people who have done bigger, better, cooler things, but the most frequent question I get on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok for sure, is how did you get started? I throw around big numbers. I talk about my companies, our bottlenecks, the people we're hiring. I talk a lot about real estate investments, but I understand that you have to get started somewhere. And this is exactly how I did it. So for the first time ever, I'm going to share the entire story. Also, I'm giving away over $1,000 worth of cash and business trainings from my education company in this video. All you have to do to enter, there's going to be multiple winners, is drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below. That's all you got to do, absolutely free. So the story actually doesn't start when I was 17 years old. It dates back really in my mind to when I was 12. I started mowing lawns. At first it was the direct next door neighbor, and then I had like 4 in a row, and so I would just mow a long strip all the way down the street and come back, and I just started amassing more clients, and I just took over the neighborhood, and I was basically mowing everybody's lawn from about 11 or 12 years old, and that continued all the way until I was 16, almost 17. Also, mowing lawns started giving me the cash to invest into other things. I was buying a lot of business books. So at 13 years old, that's when I really got into stock trading. I probably saw some internet ad of somebody making a ton of money. So at 13 years old, I was learning how to read SEC filings, right? How do you value a company? Digging through all the financials, learning how to read a financial statement. And that's something that ultimately led me into day trading, of course, because that was the flashier side of things. I was not very good at that, couldn't quite get the hang of it, so I continued moving on. Now at 16 years old is when I had actually stumbled into something that was making me, in my mind, what was some meaningful money, about $1,000 to $3,000 a month, and that really gave me the money to start other things. What I was doing at the time is I was growing a lot of different Instagram theme pages. So I had multiple pages. My biggest ones were in the car space. I had a motivational quotes page. It was more so for business people and entrepreneur people, and I started getting a couple 100,000 followers. I would grow these pages from scratch, and then I would sell ad space to companies looking to promote. And we're not talking about thousands of dollars. We're talking about like $50 for a post, maybe $130 for a whole campaign. And then I realized, why am I taking a $200 payment for 5 promotions from this company when I could just promote my own product? So that led me to figure out, hey, well, I control the traffic, right? I'm the advertiser here. But then I was like, I don't have a company. I don't have a product. I don't have a team that can deliver that. So then I found out what affiliate marketing was. And this is where you sell a product and just get a commission. But here's where things get crazy. When I was 16, I won an affiliate contest through ClickBank for Ty Lopez. You guys have probably seen him. I was selling on that motivational quotes page. It had like 55,000 followers. I was selling one of his courses. I was the top salesperson. That led to me getting invited out by his brother, Ben Lopez, who ran all of his affiliate stuff. I got invited out to Ty's Beverly Hills mansion at 16 years old, which was just like the craziest thing. Even to like be in touch with them and have any sort of communication or recognition, I was so inspired, and it changed my life in a really big way. Now, I do have to be honest, at 16 years old, I had no idea what taxes were, so I was spending 100% of the money I was making back on traveling for more business, buying courses. I spent $2,000 on a course when I was 16 years old. It didn't go anywhere, but just the act of really putting money back into myself and betting on myself, where most 16-year-olds would have saved up for a few months and bought a Bmw for $7,000 to stunt on their friends, right? I wanted to grow the business. I wanted to get myself in a position that gave me financial longevity. I didn't really care about being cool at that moment. Okay, so now we get to the good stuff. When I was 17 years old, that is when this really clicked. Obviously, you see the title, $200,000, but it wasn't right when I turned 17. So my birthday is in March. And I had previously, at the end of 16 years old, really started getting into e-commerce. I'd learned what Shopify was, what drop shipping was. I tried a couple different products, really struggled to find something that worked. But my first product, it started taking off. It was this Husky iPhone case, and it was actually doing really well through Facebook ads. I was trying to get some influencer promotions going because I knew a lot of people that had really big dog and pet pages, but that never was a huge sales driver. It was mostly Facebook ads. And I I was doing 5,000 a month, then 10, then 20, then 40, then 60, and that's in sales with about a 30% profit margin. But that really started making me some money as I turned 17 and into 17 years old. Then I launched my second product. This product was kind of building off of it. It was on the same store. It was an LED dog collar. And at the time, this was brand new. Nobody had really seen it. I was sourcing it through a drop shipping agent. We had like 20-day shipping, which is not the best, but I was getting this product for a couple dollars and I was selling it for like 30, again, through Facebook ads. So that was most of the courses I was buying. I was trying to learn Facebook ads. I was watching all the YouTube videos, just absorbing as much information as I could, and it started working. I mean, this was my biggest winner, but this product started really taking off and it started making me money. First, it was, again, only a few $100s in profit, then a couple thousand in profit. Then I started making 10,000 a month in profit, then 15,000 a month. And so all that money was just like now being stockpiled. And I didn't know what to do with it. It wasn't a lot. I was putting some money back into the business, but that led to me about 8 months later, towards the end of the year in 2017, when I was 17 years old, I started my YouTube channel. Because when I started, it was so difficult to find any good information. And in my opinion, it still is today, because while there's a lot more people talking about it, trust me, that doesn't mean the information is quality. It's actually more difficult now to find the good information because there's not a lot of it. There's a lot of people out there just saying they do e-commerce. Trust me, almost every big player in this industry, I know them personally, does not actually do e-commerce. They just teach it. So I started that channel about halfway through the year. A couple months in, it started picking up steam. I started making $1,000 off YouTube ad revenue. $1,500, $2,000, and then somebody found me on Instagram from YouTube and said, hey, I really like what you're doing. You helped me get some money coming in through my Facebook ads. Could I pay you $100 to sit down with you on Skype and you could go through my ads? And I was like, well, sure. I had all the time in the world. $100 sounds great. So that led to me starting to slowly get into some consulting. Then I realized I should be charging a little bit more than the $100, and it just started snowballing. And then I had 5,000 subscribers. 10, 20, 40, and it really started to grow. And so that's something where I was like, wait a minute, this could actually become a business, and there's money coming in the door, and there's people who actually care what I have to say. And so at this time, I really started doubling down on what was working, which was, at the time, the e-commerce was making really consistent sales. I was probably making $15,000 a month consistent profit from that, on pace for about $150,000 to $200,000 a year in consistent profit just from that. There had been a lot of ups and downs. A Facebook ad account had gotten disabled, so it was a little bit lower that first year, but that was like the average pace. And then the YouTube channel was starting to take off. And at the time, I had transitioned to online school. I was only 17 years old. And what I had done is I went on Upwork, a very popular freelancing site, and I hired somebody. I'll even put up a screenshot. And I was paying her about, I think, $65, maybe $75 a week to do my online school. Now, here's what's perfect. You might not be able to tell, but I was not the best student. I was maybe a C student at best. And so this lady's English wasn't quite perfect. And so she was getting C's, C+, something in there. So it's actually very believable, right? And so it was fine that she wasn't getting the best grades for me. But yes, I completely outsourced 100% of my schoolwork for about 8 months when I was 17 years old. And I'm going to tell you how that crashed and burned here in a second. Now, young Hayden had a whiteboard over his left shoulder in his videos breaking down his exact current income on the month. And now this was for myself, but people started noticing that in the video because I had the camera in front of me and they were asking about it. So then I started being fully transparent. I would do monthly summaries. By the way, all those videos are still on my channel. You can watch me grow from making really not a lot of money to $10,000 a month, $20,000, $30,000, $60,000, like life-changing money, especially for a teenager. In October of that year, I also bought my dream car, a 2015 BMW M4 with only 9,000 miles. I was so excited to get this car. I had a co-signer, so I didn't have to put a lot down. I fronted a year of payments. I was beyond excited and so inspired. I would just drive this car around all day. It was the best. Now, I closed off 2017 at about $100,000 in net profit. It was crazy. About $80,000 of that was from e-commerce, and about $20,000 of that was some stuff that was starting to come in from YouTube ad revenue and consulting from the people that would watch my YouTube videos. It was the start of something great. Now, January of 2018 was another $65,000 or so, which again was just mind-boggling to start to see all this consistency. I was starting to have a lot of money in the bank. It was really, really crazy, and I was so inspired. However, there was a little bit of a hiccup. Around this time, the lady who was doing my online school, she had to go back to school in her country and could no longer do it. I tried like 2 more virtual assistants. It just didn't work out. So I ended up failing every single class that semester. Now, my parents thought that I had been doing school and getting decent grades. And so when they got the final report card, and this was, I think, in early February, and they saw that I'd literally failed every single class. Had a 1.9 GPA. Don't even know how that's possible. And they were just beyond livid, right? It was like, this is not okay. You have to be doing school. What's going on? I think at that point, I told them that I was never the one doing it, but I told them, look, I'm not going back to school. Like, I was so confident in my business and the money I was making. I mean, there was no way I would go sit back in an online school classroom. It was just not going to happen. So in February of 2018, at just 17 years old, I was politely asked to leave the house because I was not a full-time student. That was my parents' rule. And I don't think they thought I would actually leave. By the way, just a disclaimer, they did not know how much money I was making. I mean, none of this flowed through them. And so it was really interesting because I think they thought I was going to go back to school. And like, it was a rule that they were setting. And so they said, you have 2 weeks to leave if you're not going to be a full-time student. And that's their rule. It's their house. I totally respect that. So on day 13 out of 14, I was on an airplane. I was headed to Los Angeles. I flew into LAX. My friend picked me up. A couple days before, I had shipped my car with all of my stuff in it. I paid $1,400. I put it on a car carrier. Gone. Now, this is where things got a little bit interesting for me personally, because the friend that I thought I was going to be living with and paying rent to, who had an apartment, right, I couldn't sign a lease, well, he ended up 3 days into me living there, completely stealing all of my stuff. He just locked me out of the apartment. So all I had was the laptop. I was at a coffee shop working, and my car. All of my clothes, all my monitors, all of my books, the title to my car, every single thing that I had brought with me in my car, in my suitcase, all my clothes, gone. Never saw it again. Never did. Never seen him since. And this really put me in a hard spot. All of my stuff was stolen. I'm 17 years old. I can't go get a hotel. I can't get an Airbnb. Nobody can sign a lease with me, and now I'm effectively homeless in California. Yes, I have a lot of money in the bank at that point, relatively, but I can't do anything. I'm not of legal age. And so what did I do? I was in Irvine, California. I drove to 3 different hotels, asking a couple people in the lobby, until the third hotel I found somebody who was willing to book a room under their name. That's a risk for them. Thank you for the person who did that, by the way. They did that. I paid them a couple $100 extra. I spent $700 for 3 nights in this hotel. That's a lot. I was super, super cheap back then, still am now, but $700 is a lot of money. But now I had 3 days with, my head on a pillow, a roof over my head, and I will never forget this hotel. It was on the 11th floor, beautiful hotel, 10 minutes from the beach, and it was truly one of the small windows of time, those 3 days, where my life changed. Yet again, a few key, very defining moments. I was scheduled over this weekend, that 3 days, to open up the first access into my e-commerce program, showing Facebook ads and how I ran all my drop shipping stores at the time. I had about 30,000 subscribers on YouTube. Everybody was like, when are you making a course? When are you going to show us how you actually do all this? Because YouTube is only like, 10 to 20 minute videos. And so over those 3 days, I opened up access. Never would have expected this. I made $60,000. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And with the e-commerce and everything else, it was like $72,000 net over those 3 days. Like, the other stuff did really well. And I was just mind blown. I closed off that month of February, which was my last month of being 17. I made almost $100,000 in that last month when I was 17. Insane. And about a week later, I turned 18 with 6 figures in the bank, my dream car. I was living on the beach in California, and just a couple short weeks later, I would set off on a 3-month journey to go travel to basically every country I had ever dreamed of. I'd greatly appreciate it if you leave a like on the video. Make sure to comment below if you want to see a part 2 over the next 5 years. I'm 22 now. It's been a crazy journey, and I appreciate you following along.